back to Grounds for Divorce. Today's guest wears two hats. He's law trained and also a psychologist for more than 20 years. His name is Nicholas Gabriel Lim, and he's also the author of Clash of the Mind and Heart. Nicholas focuses a lot on young people from teenagers to those in their early 30s, helping them navigate through emotions, relationships, and identity. But before we dive deep about his work, I actually want to start with him.
So I have saw many divorced couples in Singapore, right? They always think that they themselves are the victims. And in actual fact, a lot of people around us always think that the couple themselves are the victims. But many a times, I realize it's not only the couple, but the children involved and the parents, the old parents, right? So for myself, for example, I've seen how my old parents actually went from a normal day to day to really being very depressed. Then my younger kids, they were facing a lot of issues with just dealing with their daily lives. And that brought me to realize that I need to do something, right? I brought them to the psychologist thereafter. So with this, I feel that today's episode, we have Nicholas here with us. He will be a very good person to help us through so that at the end of the day, when we bring a divorce to the table, we need to know how to address both the adults involved, also the family that is behind them.
Yeah, Nicholas, I know that, before we actually dive into your work, we would like to actually understand how your childhood actually shaped your life today and how you actually went into becoming a psychologist. Yeah.
Thank you for having me for this session. Well, a quick introduction of myself. I'm a father of three, and two teenagers, 13 and 14, and then one girl, 10 years old. Yeah. So, like you pointed out, I'm a psychologist for 20 years, graduated from law school last 3 years or so. But we can talk about why I get into the law school later. But how I jump into this whole working with young people, it's in a way coincidental, but in a way also very natural, because I've always been very active in my school days, uniform groups, basketball, and so on and so forth. So that's at school side. At home in my community, I always go downstairs, and play badminton with my neighbors, even I was quite active in church then as well. So a lot of youth activities, within my church itself. So when I decide what to study in university, I decided to study psychology because I think I am interested to understand human behaviour. So when I came back from Australia, from study, I decided to work with young people because I was very comfortable with them. Kind of like I thought I knew them very well. After having psychology, I thought that I think give you a bit more insight. So I say, okay, why don't I just start with young people first?
Cool.
So when very naturally, I think I just stayed with them for my entire career because I think it's not only natural. I think it just became easier based on how I apply my learning from psychology, and after a while I become quite skilled at it, So I work with all the paikia. So in those days, like after school you go out under the void deck, then smoke lah, then piang cui lah, that kind of thing, right? So those the start-up days, don't come to school. Then later on go into like smoking, school truancy, or bad grades and so on and so forth. Yeah. So I guess different generation have different issues. The needs that they are looking to attend to manifest in different ways, right? So I guess today we'll talk about like gaming, maybe vaping, stuff like that, right? So different. You don't hear all this last time.
Evolve.
It has evolved. So in that sense, the needs are there. I feel are similar throughout the years I work with young people, but it will look very different because of the different generation, different time. So, yeah.
I would call this passion. If not, how to last 20 years in the same industry dealing with, issues may be different, right? But
Yes.
you are still dealing with teenagers.
That's
Teenagers, a lot of people are very fearful, right? Because they always say that this is the most headache period of their life, right? Yeah.
More adults lah. So the teachers will tell me, say, well, how you stand all that, that kind of thing, right? Or the parents will say, well, I cannot take it, I put my head, how you tahan, that kind of thing, right? So different tolerance, I suppose. Yeah, different issues. Because I go at home, the issues are different, right? You don't do homework, your laundries are everywhere, like school brothers, school sister, that kind of thing. Then in school, like maybe some of them are very good boy, good girl, but some of them are totally the opposite, right? Yeah, like the super leader kind, but at home are totally submissive, totally quiet, don't do anything, right? So the whole range lah, it really depends. So you rightly pointed out, I mean, I guess different young people have different needs, you know, at that point in time. Some of the needs are being met at home, some of the needs are being met in school or outside, right? So if you have an ideal situation where every need of a child is being attended to at home, then that's good lah. So it's a safe space to go back to, or parents are more enlightened, they know how to look out for, you know, the needs of their child, then they attend to every need lor. Yeah, which is good lah, ideal situation lah, but sometimes we're all imperfect one. Right, yeah. So they look out for this kind of, I guess, opportunities to meet their needs outside lor, with friends lor. Yeah.
Right, Nicholas, hold you there, yeah. I mean, like, there's so much about your work, and then I also can see a lot of passions in your eyes when you speak about all this experience. But before becoming a psychologist, I think a lot of people here, even including myself, are really interested to find out, how did you really become a psychologist aside from the academic side, right? Because I read about your write-out. You did not have a very good childhood somehow, but yet you did extremely well in studies. And of course, your career is even better now, right? Can you share more on that?
Yeah, I think that kind of answers your question, Kathleen, about the passion. I guess every one of us who are that driven would have come from some form of a background. So my story is quite well published, I suppose. It's not only in my book, but also on my website. Right? I grew up in an environment where I am actually being, I guess, disciplined by my father. Not in any cane me kind of way. He's quite regimented or corporal in his approach towards me. He's the silent guy doing his own business, as in like real business. He flies around. He's into air freight at that point in time, you know. So he entertains a lot. He do business a lot. He flies around a lot, right? So I was seldom around. He was seldom around in my life, right? And then mom was always there with me. So when my mom cannot deal with me, then she would tell my dad, and then my dad will like 记录, they say like record, right? I did this, I did that kind of thing, right? So when he comes back, right, he'll find a room, he'll find a dining room, he take a chair, ask me to bend over, and he just whack, that kind of thing, right? So for a growing boy like that, I really feared those moments, you know, because he don't talk to me or talk very little, you know, and the only thing I can like connect him with and associate him with is basically fear, right? And he's really like, you just imagine those prison officers, right? Like he will sit down there and he will just measure his stroke and his swing, that kind of thing, right? He will just say, hey, that's his whack, that kind of thing. So I can I see him before, then sometimes I like in my mind I can, okay, it's gonna come. So it's always that fear. Yeah.
So
but
there was no conversation before that. He would just discipline you first.
Conversation to the extent where he understands why I needed to be disciplined, because mom cannot control me, or I never do the homework, or I was like behave badly in a certain way, or say certain bad things, whatever it is, right? To that extent, the communication happened, yes.
Okay.
Right? But it was never a case of like what led me to doing that or saying that kind of thing, right? Because I think it was the last resort. Therefore, mom had to resort to telling dad about it.
Oh, okay.
Right? Yeah. So otherwise, mom is just the nurturer, the educator, you know, the everything lah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But in the same breath, dad is also the one that tells my mom, right? He's deal with Nick in this way. He needs to learn. Right, at the end of the day, give him the freedom. If he makes a mistake, he learns from his mistakes, and that don't couch everything for him. Yeah. So I didn't learn all this about my dad, because my dad was also brought up like that by his mom. So I didn't learn all that until much later after my postgrad. That means I coming from university already. I had to do my postgrad studies, and part of the requirement was to actually find out my roots, my family line, why my dad was the way he is, why my mom is the way she was, that kind of thing, so on and so forth. Right. So even, can you imagine at that point in time, I'm already a grown-up guy already, right? I have to sit down and talk to him. I still feared him in front of me, having to ask him the question. So dad, who was your dad? Where were you? What were you doing? That kind of thing, right? I literally was fearful about having to ask those questions to him. Yeah, but anyway, as an adult already, I dealt with it anyway. And I found out that he was also like that.
But interestingly, you actually... Okay, I mean, I like this part where you get to speak to your dad and then understand his roots, especially using what you have already learned, right? And are you guys in a better relationship
Yeah,
after that?
for sure.
Okay.
For sure.
So because I hear the word fear,
Yeah.
right? I heard the word fear
Yeah.
throughout
Yeah.
your conversation about your dad.
Yeah.
So do you actually tell him?
Yeah, I did.
You did?
Yeah, even shortly after I came back from Australia, because part of the psychology study is always to address all this, right? I remember between my living room and my kitchen, there was this like a door of sorts. Right? I had to tell him basically how I felt growing up towards him. And in my mind, I knew he was like going to punch me or so I was shivering. I was telling him in the street. I was staring him in the eye, that kind of thing, right? But after I told him how I felt and what he did to me that made me feel like that, right? He didn't do anything to me. He just looked at me. He calmly turned away and he walked. I was like, what just happened? Then I just quickly like fell down on my leg because I was shivering already. I was so scared already because I was like ready for him to punch me, kind of thing, right? So it was just all made up in my mind because my dad has never done that to me. Because he was only very corporal way, that kind of thing. But the fear invoked that kind of fear in my mind. So I was prepared for like a fight. But he didn't do any of those. And he has never done that to me in my life. But I was prepared for a fight. I was ready to like, if you're going to punch me in my mind, I was playing it out. I'm going to block him, that kind of thing, right? But he never. He just stood there and he just turned around and he walked away. So for me, I just collapsed because I was really so high in adrenaline. I was prepared to fight already. But he just walked away. I didn't expect that. So I just broke down and I cried. And cried. Yeah.
And that was already when you mentioned that was in your postgraduate times.
No, this was the first encounter with him. That means after my bachelor's degree and I come back. When I did so that was like a 3 to 5 years kind of situation, right? So when I did my postgrad, I had to do this route thing. So it was proper in my dining room with him. Then we sat down and then we do the charting, of our family tree and that kind of thing. That was when I realized that he was like that. Right, because his father also did it. So in those kampong days, his dad really literally asked him like climb the tree, climb over the fence, that kind of thing, right? Sometimes really also just whack him. I'm like, okay, so now I know where he got it from, but not as bad as what your father did to you, But I also appreciated the fact that you told mom to let me be who I am and just give me the freedom to do what I want to do, lah. But the only way to discipline me was to if mom tells you, then you do something to me, lah, that kind of thing, right? So that's how his way of disciplining was. But it's nowhere what his father did to him, right? Yeah.
So that was the first time you really had a heart-to-heart talk with that.
Second time. So based on
Second time.
based on the family tree, second time. The first time was when I was between the living room and the dining room. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your dad replied to you was walking away for the first time.
Yeah.
So
I was superly emotionally charged up, upset, even angry at that point in time.
I see.
Yeah.
Was this, did something happen? Why did you even have that fear that came out?
No, I think we were just, I can't remember the details of it, but I think it was just a conversation that I had with him that I was just being assertive, having to address his thinking, his approach, his attitude towards me, stuff like that, right? So, but at that point in time, I was really like grown up already, right? I just didn't want to just continue to be submissive toward the whole relationship, the power dynamics, right? I just want to talk it out, but I've been fearfully engaging him all these years. So I just want to assert myself because I just want to grow up, lah, Yeah, so I just did that. And then I went into those discussions with him, lah. Yeah.
Okay, so now changing, like putting yourself on as a psychologist now, looking back at the very moment, what do you see yourself been through? Traumatized?
Of course, for sure.
So in your clinical terms, what do you call that? Can name out all the things that you felt during that process.
Yeah, so I read in my book also, I describe myself as, in modern day language, I probably am at risk of suicide and passive aggressiveness because on the surface, I cope with doing well in all the things that I do. Yeah, I'm very well. I scored well from secondary school all the way up, and even taught my whole school cohort. I was like the unit drill instructor, and they call it the sergeant major, and then overseeing the whole entire school uniform group kind of thing. Yeah, and then I also got merits for the whole entire school for the entire O levels, right? So I could do anything that I wanted to do by the time I hit JC poly stage. Yeah. So my coping was to focus on all this. Right, because I could run away from home, I could run away from that fearful place, so I cope by doing well. The more I do well, the more I get affirmed from my peers, my teachers, And I guess they also keep feeding me because if I keep doing well, then they keep challenging me. And they keep challenging me, then I keep scoring, that kind of thing, right? So I keep doing well in that sense. Yeah, and also be passive aggressive, because if you challenge me and if you like, I know my school in those days, I didn't start out well in primary school because I always play. So I didn't do well in my PSLE. So when I go to secondary school, right, I go to this challenging school because there are a lot of paikiang, right, a lot of gangsters, that kind of thing, right. So when they provoke me, the passive aggressiveness will come out. Right, because I'm like head prefect of school, that kind of thing, right. So I need to appear also like top form, that kind of thing. But if you provoke me, right, I will sneakily go to the toilet and see what you're up to. I'll listen to your conversation, and then I'll to you after that. Right. So as a peer prefect, right, I'm on top of everything all the I can do in my school, that kind of thing, right. So that kind of passive aggressiveness, right. So if they know about all this kind of thing, right, they'll hit me to the core and they will eyeball me, that kind of thing, do something to me probably when I walk home after school, something like that. But nobody knew anything. Yeah, not even my parents knew what I was up to. Right? I don't tell them anything. It's all just hidden in there. So in today's day and age, right, sure 爆炸 one. At the end, they sure explode one, because nowadays we tend to hear more young people when they're overwhelmed with all this kind of information, right? Then they tend to think of very interesting solutions to cope, lah. Yeah, be it either eat too much, hurt themselves, smoke too much, now vaping, that kind of thing, all kinds of things. So they hurt themselves more.
So what makes you realize that you are into this path is because of your own history?
So I was able to do all this only because I had my mom there with me. She was what we call, in psychological terms, right, one caring adult. So any young person will be able to grow well, will be able to thrive, learn the skills, if there was at least one caring adult. It doesn't have to be parents, right? Yeah. So I had that one stable one, which is my mom, despite everything that my dad was doing to me, to her, to my sister, that kind of thing, right? And it becomes an environment where it's a bit tricky, to maneuver sometimes, right? But she was always the stable, caring adult in my life. And after that, she exposed me to the community, to church, to neighbors, and everything else. Then there was more than just one caring adult. And each one of them played different roles in my life. So like, for example, my officer in school, or the uniform group officer, right, will always be challenging me, and becomes like the role model to actually strive for sergeant rank, then next rank, staff sergeant rank, that kind of thing, right? And how you clock your different tests, and how you score for different tests, that kind of thing, right? So there was always that one caring adult. So over time, I realized that in order for me to be able to achieve what I achieve, these people need to be around. So obviously in my studies, I was also informed, right? Psychologically speaking, developmentally speaking, what's required for a young person. I begin to connect with my own life, and I begin to see the people that I'm with when I'm back working with young people. So I will ask questions like, hey, where's the mom and dad? Oh, not around. Or then who else is with you? That kind of thing. Those kind of questions. And I begin to identify in my head who's that one, like my mother in your life, that kind of thing, right? It could be a teacher or whatever. Even the tuck shop auntie, uncle also could be the one. You keep going there, then the amma always give you the food, and only you get special food, but nobody else gets special food, that kind of thing, right? I was like, okay, then I will go and reach out to the auntie in the tuck shop and say, hey, maybe you can, support me a little bit as I work with this teenager, whatever it is. So the one caring adult is necessary, I feel. Not just informed by science, environmental science, but also experience. It's really the case. If you can get one mentor or one coach, one amma over the store, that kind of thing, right? And you keep going back to, and they know how to ask questions, and they feel that 你关心我, you care for me, right? Or good enough already. And the person will be on a more positive trajectory as opposed to totally zero, nobody at all. Then they will go down, they will spiral down.
I agree.
Okay.
Thanks so much for sharing on your personal journey, though. But while you were actually sharing all this, I had so much thoughts in my mind. Your stories kind of connect with me, which I felt, similar in some way. I did not have a very good childhood as well. Like, I felt that I have an angry childhood, growing up in not a very rich, like a well-to-do family. And my dad is always the one that disciplined me the most. I have an elder sister who's Down syndrome, and even though I'm the younger in that family, right? But all the time I'm always have to take on a lot of responsibility, right? Even for the matters that is, even for the things that I did not commit, for the mistakes that I did not commit, right? And my dad would not just cane me without any even reasonings. Like the older parents never even didn't even bother to tell you what's wrong with you. And tell you why you shouldn't do this. And the next thing, the cane just come and then just whack, this kind of thing. So I grew up in that kind of environment, which I feel that till my dad's deathbed, I still hate him. Yeah, so And also, at 7, I seen my parents almost went through divorce, right? And my mom left home for a few months without even telling me what happened. When I realized what's going on, my mom actually shared that she thinks that my dad had adulteries because she found a stack of photographs of, females' photographs hidden in my dad's wardrobe. I have no idea why, and I never asked because, I never was in good talking term with my dad, right? And all I knew is that my mom said something like, custody will go to your dad and care and control. I was like, I did not fight back. But after hanging up the phone with my mom, I feel devastated because it's like, I know I'm a kid, but no one ever decided to even ask how I felt, right? Who I want to be with. And it really matters because I can see that my mom is the stronger party in this family, right? She actually is a sole breadwinner. My dad never really bring home his income. He doesn't really take care of the family entirely. But then my mom chose to actually just leave me with my dad. That broke me. But this divorce did not happen eventually. But it does hurt. And I, reflecting back to now, right, I do see that how I actually handle relationship, how I look at marriage, and I never even want to have children, right? I also feel that why, I start to dive even more deeply. Why am I thinking this way? First of all, I think I see that my parents are not even ready to be a parents. The way they discipline me in a very unreasonable way, which I'm actually trying to reason out till now. As taking me as a patient today, right? How do you really guide me in this process? I don't, because back then I have never seek any psychologist.
Okay.
Yeah.
First and foremost, we are all patients because our parents never gone through parenting school. There's no such thing. So parenting school is just being thrown the role the moment our kids get, born. So each child would meet our parent the first time. So if my parents were to parent me, it would be the first time they're parenting me as a son, the kind of son that I am. And my sister came along, it will be also her first time parenting. My sister being parented by my parents for the first time. So in that sense, we are all guinea pigs, if you like. We are all patients going through all kinds of trial and error by the adults. And of course, the adults, I'm also guilty of that, try our best to be the best parent that we can be. Sometimes we take guidance from the way we were parented. Sometimes we read books. Sometimes we learn from our mentors, our role models, who have been with us and were instrumental in our lives. Some of them continue to be instrumental in our lives. Some of them still are present in my life. So I sometimes do seek guidance and say, hey, can I catch up with you? I've got this dilemma, blah, blah. So they stay with us for life. And I shared my story with my dad earlier. Until today, he's still the man he is. He's old. He still talks to me the way he talks. But it's a bit different now because I took the action to step up to him, and I now have acquired a different coping strategy to deal with him. So I'm a bit more patient. I'm a bit more understanding, right? Obviously, he cannot whack me anymore, right? And I joke about this when I had my first child, my son. My father played with my son the way I always wanted him to play with me. And I looked at my mom, I said, why did he never actually do this to me? What's wrong with him? He looked at me and said, I don't know. I'm like, okay. Right? But I'm over it. I'm over it. Then my second son came about, he did the same thing. She will particular attention on my boy, she'll buy things for them, and they were like, wow, so happy, you do this, you do that kind of thing. Like, I look at my mom again, and then I look at my wife, I was like, what's up? I also want what?
Because the priorities was very different back then.
Yes. Yeah, because I can imagine, I mean, he didn't tell me all this, but just a young child observing accounting, right? I mean, he was a salesperson, air freighter, like he's flying over the place, entertaining, different customers and everything else. So he needs to bring in the money, he needs to look good, he needs to make sales and kind of thing, right? So not important at home. As long as you bring back the money, maybe that kind of attitude, maybe, those kind of generation. Yeah, look after the household, shelter over our head can already, kind of thing, right? Maybe lah, right? Yeah. But I can imagine that if we don't do work on ourselves, like I didn't spend time having to reflect, or my lecturers didn't force me to actually do this, I probably wouldn't understand why I was so angry, why my dad was the way he was. I didn't even have the chance to even ask him. In fact, if this wasn't a curriculum, like an assignment kind of thing, right, I probably would not even know that his dad was like that to him at all. Because I wouldn't talk to him. Man.
You weren't there.
Yeah, I wouldn't dare to talk to him. I wouldn't even bring it up. Yeah. So because of that, kind of forced it, kind of like, and also I was studying psychology and I applied my work in all the young people, right? I have to meet their family as well. So when I see them, I talk to them, that kind of thing. I also see myself in them, kind of thing, right? So those initial conversations forced by my curriculum, let me reconnect with those things. So along the way, like different gaps surface, and I, oh shit, I need to do this. Oh, I didn't do this. So I make peace with myself. I make peace with the relationship, that was broken and stuff like that, right? Along the way, it wasn't an overnight thing, over the years. So when my son came out, the incident, I also have to ask my mom, right? In that conversation I had with her, it also kind of like made me recognize that I need to accept the fact that my father is like that, right? I cannot have expectations that my dad will never meet my expectations because he is the man he is. So that kind of thing is what I mean by I need to also grow along the way and then take actions that help me heal, and maybe even remove the band-aid, to recognize that actually it's no more bleeding really, right? It's time to move on, that kind of thing, right? Yeah. So it happens over time now. Even until my third child came along, my daughter came along, it's still like that, right? So it's ongoing healing. You can imagine we've stayed with him for 25 years, now another 20 plus years, married already, right? The kids all three, right? You're still healing, lor. Yeah. So sometimes you see we go out for makan and everything else. I mean, that is still, it's frail now, but he's still his person. He's still the way he is. His attitude with my mom is still the same, or they talk so that, so the pattern you can see the same. How do you get angry with that? How do you make an issue with that? Right? I mean, it's just, So I can imagine myself after a while, my dad, my son will come up to me and say, "Hey, Dad, why you like that?" kind of thing. I'm like, okay, I'll try my best to do things differently, kind of thing. But they would expect that will always be somewhat like that. A few things maybe you can adjust here and there, but I think to change the person, a bit hard and unrealistic to expect, I suppose.
My father is also a very different person, right? With us and with my kids, right? Very different. So I always say the kids can climb onto Akong's head and do anything there, But with us, my dad has very, very teen patience with us. If we are naughty, the kin will also come. But very seldom, I would say my dad is not the disciplinarian at home. My mom is. So, but my dad is also the authority that is very different, right? Yeah. But with grandkids, my goodness, it's totally different. I always look at my dad and I always tell my mom, how is this the same dad that I had? Dad is not like that with us, It's really not.
Yeah. Totally identify.
Even though I'm not a psychologist, but I can see that they are actually compensating back, what they did not fulfill during your childhood.
Yeah,
Do
maybe.
it on your grandkids.
Maybe.
Yeah, I subscribe to the idea that compensation, a little bit yes, but it's a different stage of life that they're in. So there's the before married, then now married already. After married already, then got children. After children, right, the children grow up, right, then they're grandparenting stage. So at the grandparenting stage of life, which I will also get into at some point in time, I guess our worldview at the stage of our life will change. We begin to take perspective on what has happened, through our own life. And compensating, I think it's too strong a word. It's more like living out that remaining years of their life in a different way. Yes, I may give you additional sweet, or I may do things that pamper you a little bit more. But that's something that I can do now, that I don't have maybe the responsibility to ensure your outcome. If I pamper you too much on this, the responsibility is not mine. It's back to the parents. So there's two things here, right? One is I recognize that my child has grown up, and now they are the parents. I should not be stepping over their role as parents. So that's one perspective. The other one is because my kids have already grown up, they got married, they got kids. What kind of values and do I want to transmit to my grandchildren, right? In the absence of their own parents, which is my own children, to find a way to complement them. So that's a perspective that we will not get into and take if we are not in that stage of our life.
Agree.
You know, and because they've gone through enough of life experience, right, or maybe even work or whatever, the corporate world and everything else, like they tend to see more things that we are still struggling with or still bringing up our kids. And sometimes we're still fighting certain things that we do not know, or our parents already been fighting and going through a struggle already. Yeah, but point taken, there are some of those who are compensating. Now, not everybody, but some, because they may still feel certain things. My child still 不尊重, for example, still cannot make it in my eyes, for example, right? So I want to do things, where I was not able to give to my child, and I'm still seeing my child like that. So therefore, with my grandchildren, right, I'll give you whatever that I'm not able to give my own children. Right? And I'm still seeing that it's not stepping up to my expectation. Anyway, so they are compensating it, and sometimes to the extent where it's detrimental to the development of the child. Yeah. So there are those also lah. Yeah, there are also those.